Hello, friends. It is Thursday, and we are going live with content that is putting grease in my wheels when it comes to moving abroad. So, I want to say thank you for joining. I am Dee of H&D Abroad. On our channel, we talk about our move that is planned for 2024. We do not know where we're going, but we are maximizing research, scouting trips, and community, and that includes people like you. To share the journey that we are taking. We are sharing our process in real time before we leave the US. So if you would like to follow along, if you would like to get ideas for your travel dreams, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, share this video with a friend, because that is what we do here is we learn, we share, we grow, and we grow together. So I want to say thank you, hola, hola, to Sam, Black Women Build Wealth. Hey, Yolanda. I'm glad that you've had safe travel so far, locating cozy. Thank you so much for joining. We are live today because you cannot be in these job hunting streets without support, without friends who are sharing the details, and then learning from people who are actually doing the thing. So, yes, I reach out to my friends and my Exodus Summit sisters to find out how are you earning the money for your move abroad? How are you, if you are not retired, you are not independently wealthy, you don't have some passive income like rental property, if you're not eligible for Social Security, how did you get out of here? What industries are you in that have helped you to say goodbye to the U.S. temporarily or permanently, so that you can live your travel dreams, live your move abroad dreams, and and you don't have to figure this out alone. I was really glad to find a few channels that are talking about this topic. I'm going to mention them later on, but what I want to do first is introduce you to Azie. I have had her on before, but y'all, you cannot neglect the sisterhood. You cannot, because Azie is doing the thing. When she says, "Hey, I'm out here and I'm getting ready to interview for a job," we are in our group chat cheering her on. So I thought I'd have her come on. She has been on with us today because Azie is a traveler.
Yes.
Who's got real language skills. Azie is also a house sitter, and I've had her on when I've talked about Black women house sitting. And so, like, she is really doing the thing. I want my audience to know that this is a trusted source. She is a content creator, and I'll have her introduce herself before we dive into this finding remote work from anywhere, nomad, digital nomad, living abroad conversation.
All right. Thank you so much, Dee. So happy to be back here with you. Hello, everyone in the chat. Good to see y'all. And I'm Azie. I actually consider myself an ex-digital nomad. I overdid the travel this year. I actually have a video coming out in a couple of days, so be sure to follow me on my channel. I'll drop it in the chat for y'all, and it will be my confessions of an ex-digital nomad, and I'll share my experience and way on the cons that I wish I heard, because it's all glitter and glam when people are talking about the digital nomad. So I wanted to bring the real on that. So that will come out this weekend. But yes, I'm currently based in Chicago, but for most of this year, I was traveling as a digital nomad. I actually quit my full-time job, crazy enough, almost 2 years ago. And I started my digital nomad journey technically in 2019, but then with COVID, stopped, returned to the US, and resumed it at the beginning of this year. And yeah, was doing a lot of pet sitting, traveling around in the US as well as abroad, skipping winter. So now I'm paying my dues and headed for a Chicago winter for the first time in a few years. So
Oh,
yeah, happy
wow.
to answer your questions. Come at me with it.
I said in the Exodus Summit group today, y'all
Mhm.
come with your questions because I am transparent on this channel. We will tell you the tears, the bitter tears that we have cried on this journey, the highs and the lows, because I think that is the real facts. And I know there are people in the chat today that are also doing this. So Yolanda, I didn't invite you on today, but you are in. She is an accountant that has said no to overstress, managing people, and she's able to make her wins for travel because she's in beautiful Mexico right now, and she's able to take her work with her. So, there are highs because, you can be anywhere that you want. The thing that I know that one of the reasons I am kind of skittish is the freelancer is chasing the next gig. You're always chasing the next gig. So when I say we're going to talk about it, we're going to talk about it. So I want to start by saying, hello, Poetry. Thank you. I know she's been trying to make sure she joins us live. Welcome, welcome. Linda Robinson, welcome. Let's talk about it. Mara, welcome, welcome. Guided Steps Executive Assistant Service, welcome. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Lori. Y'all, okay, Miss Mocha Mama, we are about the vocabulary because I think when I read, and I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, I'm not sure if people understand yes, there is a category of work called digital nomad. There is no job title called digital nomad. So let's break down the vocabulary. So we're going to start by acknowledging that we are students of the Queen of Remote Work. The Queen of Remote Work is Libria Jones. We have been on her channel, watching her stuff. She has taught us the difference between what is work from home, what is let's see, so there is work from home and then there's work from anywhere. So Azie, in looking at job postings and other things, what have you discovered about those two terms specifically as we try to break that down?
Right. Work from home has definitely been normalized since the start of the pandemic, where a lot of white collar jobs were forced to work from home. So it really means a lot of the times, like assuming that most of us are from the US, it might be a US based job or whatever the company is based. And work anywhere, that can be tricky too. You really have to read into each specific description because every
Yes.
job will use the same words to mean different things. Work from anywhere, I've seen a lot of anywhere in the US. Sometimes they
Mhm,
specify anywhere in the world. And sometimes you just say anywhere, but they just mean within whatever country they're hiring. So
mhm,
so
mhm.
it's really important to be clear and understand that sometimes they specify time zones. That's a big thing too.
Yes. Yes. I have learned that remote work also means that you are not based in an office. So I used to work in nonprofit as a community outreach worker when I first got out of grad school. And they're calling that remote work. And I'm like, that's not remote. That's just, I'm on the road. I work in my immediate community. So you'll see that they'll say, this is a remote job, but you have to live in Chicago. You must live in Pennsylvania, or you must live in New York. So reading those job descriptions, so that when you are applying, that you're not disappointed when you get accepted on the job and you say, hey, I'll be in Puerto Rico, and they say you're really supposed to be based, in this city, or in this time zone. And so let's see. So some other words that I think I have come across is, let's see. So how would you describe uh, um, the technology that you would need to be able to do the digital nomad kind of work? Do you need to have a Mac? Do you need to, what are the qualifications? I guess maybe that's probably where I'm going with that. What kind of,
Right.
what is someone that's looking for someone that's doing some kind of remote work? What technology are they expecting of you as the worker to come with?
Good question. That definitely depends on the nature of the work itself. For example, I do a lot of event hosting, virtually facilitating classes and certifications. So, of course, laptops and good, reliable internet tends to be the standard when it comes to digital nomad work. But for me, and sometimes for other workplaces, you do need to be able to get on the phone and talk to people as well. So those are the main things, at least for me. But I imagine for more, I know for some technical jobs that require a certain amount of security clearance, they might require additional things as well. So it
Mhm.
really does depend on the nature of your job.
Yes. So having a VPN might be really important. So
Yeah.
why don't you tell our audience what a VPN is?
What does VPN stand for? Let me look that up real quick.
Oh,
I want to be technical with y'all.
yeah. So, I mean, I know it's how
Virtual private network.
I
So
was
it's
going to
a
say that's how I maintain my privacy when I am surfing or on the internet in public places. So everybody is familiar with, I work from a coffee shop, but you don't want all your business in the street. So
right. Exactly. So some people, I'm not going to say any names, but I know some digital nomads who are based in the US do not have a digital nomad job, but they just don't tell their employers. So sometimes people are using VPNs to hide certain like geographic information from their employer if they have tracking.
yes. So I do want to say this may be where I part ways with some people, but it's because of who I work for that I know if you've got an IT person worth their grit and you are not supposed to be anywhere that they don't want you to be, they are tracking you.
Oh.
A VPN will not um, will not protect you when you are supposed to be. And so I'm talking about us government workers. If you
Mhm.
work for the federal government, if you work for state government, they are able to track your IP, even if you're trying to use a VPN to mask that. And so I usually say, please don't. Is it really worth it? It probably isn't worth it. It's probably worth it to have a conversation with your manager, lay out how this process is beneficial, and maybe that's where we're segueing to. If there are more vocabulary words you all think that we need to be discussing, please put them in the chat. Things that you've seen in job announcements, so that we can kind of talk about that. But the whole idea of, hey, I have a job and I want to see if I can do some work remote. How do you talk to an employer to do that? Because that's probably the way that you could figure out, is this worth the risk? because, your livelihood, your financials, I mean, nobody wants to be out of the country and run out of money and trying to use a GoFundMe to get a plane ticket back home. So,
Mhm.
just talking, have you had to do that before where you've talked to a manager or someone about how, about could working remote be a part of your work-life balance?
Good question. And I wanted to shout out what servant teacher Nikki said in the chat. It's never worth it. We as Black folks already have too much to lose. That's so real. Yes. Because when I hear people, it's never our complexion when I hear people saying that they're like sneaking around from their employer. I'm like, what is worth it? So for me, every time I've been a digital nomad, I've either been unemployed or freelancer. So it hasn't come up for me in that setting, but in between my nomadic adventures, I did have a full-time job here in Chicago, and they knew I was a nomad, so they always told me, hey, you can return to that. So they were okay with it. But I never actually was a digital nomad with a full-time job.
Yep, and I wanted to post this. Um, yeah, so if in my let's see, in my remote job, you have to have a physical address with the VPN. If time zone, you can work in the Caribbean, um, you know,
Or
or Southeast Asia. I guess that's
South America
South
is what I
America. Okay, is an issue, and I'm tracked and must use their laptop. So if they are issuing a laptop, that means they're tracking it. If those of you who are like me, you do government work, yes, they are tracking, and that can be considered a security risk where they have to wipe that. I mean, you could be making your company vulnerable to cyber attacks. So we want to be thoughtful about how we do this. And what I'm finding is more employers might be open to it if you have had a track record of being able to be productive. If you have had the opportunity during the pandemic to work from home, then you can say that I've established my a set of, I've been able to meet whatever benchmarks around productivity. Could I have either a certain amount of time or work, remote? uh, I will maintain, our office hours wherever we are. How can I how can I do my best work for the company, but also, be in alignment with what I'd like to accomplish for myself. So yeah,
Mm.
I mean,
Yep.
so look,
Yeah.
working for a global company definitely is another strategy for being able to do that. Go ahead, Ozzy.
Yes. What was I about to say? Did I completely just lose my train of thought on this? Yeah, come back to me later. I'm so sorry.
No, no, no. And this is also another reason why you want to be considering work.
Yeah.
If you work from somewhere else, there is a tax vulnerability, not only to you, but to the company. Because if the country that you are in finds out that you've been there 6 months, 9 months, they're expecting some tax. They may be expecting some tax remuneration. They don't just hit you as an individual. You are operating on behalf of your company, and there are financial implications to your company as well. So your, hey, I only had to pay $2,000, but it could be several $1,000s, tens of thousands of dollars of risk that your company takes on. So you want to be thoughtful about that as well. Thank you, Lori, for sharing that. So
I remembered. And I'm going to write down what I'm about to say so I don't forget moving forward. So one thing is a strategy. I love the book, The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
yes.
It's all about reducing, like this, getting into like this new form of life. I think digital nomads are generally attracted to having a more balanced work-life balance, like thinking 40 hours a week is kind of arbitrary, kind of excessive. And one strategy that they mentioned in that book is kind of that foot in the door approach. Like it's a big ask to be like, hey, can I be a digital nomad and wander around the world? So one thing that you can do is say like, hey, I might spend like 2 or 3 weeks in this country. Let's give it a try. and kind of like, so it kind of eases your employer into what it's like with you traveling and working. And once you have evidence like, hey, I'm even more productive, like if you can prove that, that's excellent. And then it's easier to advocate for yourself for more of a longer term, more flexibility from your employer. And also, I know of people who've had regular jobs, and a lot of countries have digital nomad visas. So a lot of companies are concerned about their own tax liabilities when it comes to having a worker outside of the US. So I know like Costa Rica, for example, has a digital nomad visa. There's a number of countries that have digital nomad visas. So that can be a way for an employer to feel really confident about having you wander around the world, knowing that they are being compliant with everything on their legal end as well.
Yes, digital nomad visas, and that was the link that I forgot to add to the description. So I'm writing a note. But there are more and more countries. Before the pandemic, there were not as many that had a special visa category for people who wanted to live in the country without having to get residency, which definitely establishes you for a period of time to legally be in the country. But the digital nomad visa requirements vary from country to country. A lot of times, what they want is for you to prove that you have some kind of work that makes, a certain amount of money. Some countries like Spain, because I've talked about Spain on our channel, wants the company to say that you will be employed by them into the future. I'm trying to figure out who can give future predictions of keeping you employed. I'd like to work for them. But yeah, I mean, those are, the digital nomad visa really is opening doors for you to be in places, to be there legally. But you do need to dig deeper and understand, hey, what taxes will I need to pay to my country of origin? Because just because you're not in the US does not mean that you don't need to file your taxes. We are tax compliant here on this channel. But also there may be requirements to the country that you're going to. So, when you're assessing, am I going to make enough money when I'm living abroad? You want to think about all of those. Because if you are a contract employee, so here's another vocabulary word. So when you are a contract employee, what does that mean, Azie? I mean, what responsibility do I have besides probably getting a paycheck that does not have all of those things taken out of it?
Right. Yes. So, contractor, also known as freelancer, it's when you basically, instead of having an employer, you have clients, hopefully many of them to diversify your income streams. And you do often project based works, usually, at least in my scenario, I have annual contracts which get renewed every year. And we really define like our service line agreements, and it's a way of being your own boss, but like Dee just mentioned, they don't withhold taxes because it's not a W-2, it's not your employer. And once you are in that freelance self-employed realm, there's a lot of different tax liabilities that come into play. For one, there is a self-employment tax where you have to pay 15% off of your annual income. And that's for all of the things that your employer, because you don't have one, isn't covering, like paying into Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, all those things. So yeah, that's the high level, quick little spiel on what being a contractor entails. And yeah, I've been a contractor for a little over a year now. I started in September 2022.
Yep. So I think the rough rule, and we are not tax professionals. We are providing this as entertainment when I
Yeah,
give anything like this.
this
But
is not
holding back,
consultative financial
exactly,
advice.
holding back roughly a third of your money that you get, will put you a little bit ahead. The expectation is that you're paying those quarterly and that you don't, that you're not running into a hole when tax time comes. So I did
Right.
not answer this question. And Tia, I was really supposed to be dropping my affiliate link for the VPN service. If you have, do you have an affiliate link, Azie, for the VPN that you use? Okay,
I
so I will drop one. I will drop it in the description when we're done with this. But yeah, there are several VPN service providers that are out there. This is probably the time of year when they're offering some kind of special. So even if you aren't using an affiliate link, a lot of them, but there's the bonus of, hey, I'm using a coffee shop, I might log on and check my bank account. That is a completely
I want
open and vulnerable network. But also what we have found is I can book my travel like I'm a local, like I'm in that country. So using a VPN has been helpful in that respect. There are things that Netflix will show in other countries, like I'm a Trekkie. Y'all probably didn't know that. I love all of Star Trek. They took it off of Netflix in the US, but when I log on as though I'm in Mexico, I can get it again. So you can see all kinds. If you are doing language learning, French, Spanish, Korean, you can get access to more of those shows to practice and get exposed to the local language and shows that are not available here. So I think even if you aren't moving abroad for travel, but also just for access to other things, a VPN can definitely be worth the investment. And we're talking, some plans are like $5, $10 or less. So it is definitely worth it to keep your information protected and private for personal and business use. All right. So, okay. So we were talking about the process.
Oh,
The
yes.
process. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to add one quick thing on the self-employment. If you don't pay those quarterlies or if you don't pay the right amount, you will get underpayment penalty. So you definitely want to be on your game when it comes to your freelance taxes.
Yep. Yep. Let's just say yeah.
Yeah. Uncle Sam always gets his money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, you don't get in anybody's crosshairs if you can plan. Get a tax preparer. If you are trying to find someone to help you prepare your taxes, some states have a CPA directory. It is worth it to pay it on the front end than to have to come back on the back end. Yes. Oh no, business owners are horrible with quarterlies. Yes. Oh, somebody in the chat is saying that they are a bookkeeper. That was where I was trying to go back to.
Oh, let's find that.
Oh yeah. But yeah, get a bookkeeper, get someone, a virtual assistant that can help you, get QuickBooks, understand that whatever you need to do, get in there so you can pay your quarterlies for sure. Let's see. So if you are trying to find work, it's rough out here.
Yeah.
Get ready. Get your resume ready. Hire somebody to help you if that is not your skill. The resume world is shifting and changing. I've had my job for 7 years. The game has changed probably 2 or 3 times since I've been with my current employer. So yes, I hired someone to help me build and tool my resume for the industry that I want to work in. But what I'm learning about is upskilling and reskilling. These are 2 additional vocabulary words that I want to introduce into the space is you're probably doing, if you can get paid with your employer for the work that you are doing now, somebody will pay you to represent yourself, and you can own that as freelancing. So if you have some skill, and I really want to get somebody on our channel. If you know somebody, if you and you are watching now, put them in the chat. If you know some people who are the what do you call that? The resume queen, the resume king. We are not, we are not opposed to whoever can help us come on and help us. You can put that in the chat if you are watching the replay as well. But getting your resume together, really thinking about, I don't have a job. And I also want to talk to college students. When you're in college, you are not getting a degree, young people. You are gaining skills. What skills are you gaining? Writing skills, researching skills, internet keyword searches. You are using things that are really helpful in the jobs of the future. The future of work, as I've been told by a lot of people, is the freelancing style work. So if you are getting started with that, Azie, so we're going to start with the resume writing, highs and lows.
Okay.
What have you learned that has gotten you from, ooh, that job looks really good, I can do 60%, and that is a Libria Jones, 60 to 70% of those job duties. What gets you from, I have submitted, I'm submitting my resume, to actually getting somebody to call you back?
Yes. So one thing is for sure, I know this is not the funnest thing to hear, but you need to do a targeted resume and cover letter for every job. You just got to, because you especially as digital nomads, if you're looking for remote jobs, those are highly desirable, highly competitive. There's no geographic bounds. Anyone can apply for it. So it's a much more competitive pool. So you need to stand out right from the gate. We got to talk about the ATS, the application tracking system. So the first thing that's looking at your resume isn't a person, it's a machine that's scanning for keywords and looking for those similarities. So you do need to optimize for the keywords, but you also need to optimize for human eyes too. And in the case where you are 60% qualified, you may need to go above and beyond and show like, hey, like I'm like, especially with your cover letter, showing your passion, your interest, showing that you've like looked into the company, you have some insights, just give them a little taste of what they get if they get to talk to you. I think one thing that helps me, because it can be quite a marathon looking for a job, especially if you are looking for something specific, you're not willing to settle, and you really need to be able to just give it like this focus on like the next step. Like that's a big thing I do. Like I just need to do this to get to the interview, and then if you just focus at like, okay, what's my next action, it's a lot less treacherous.
Yes. Trust me, the tailoring makes me think twice. Yes, I could just send my resume if they're only accepting resumes, but when they say a cover letter, I'm really going to make sure that I understand what they're asking for, that I'm willing to put in that level of effort. They literally, it's sometimes some of those, as well as the projects that they have you do before the interview, those really are to weed out people. So if you're going to put in the extra effort, you make sure that that's a job that you want, because yeah, you're right. Why do you want to work in this job? Because literally, it really is, but you've got to show why you are the best candidate. What do you know about the company that makes you a good fit? So I'm definitely taking a deep breath and saying, okay, I can apply for it's unrealistic for me to say I can tailor 20, tailor my resume for 20, to 20 different jobs. So If that is what you want to do, then probably the keys that I have, and you can share some. There is, I'm using, it's called Resume Now.
Oh.
Resume Now, and another program called Teal, Teal. I do not have any affiliate links for those. I don't even know if they do. If they do, then I'm going to drop them in the chat. But literally, they are resume building websites. Some of them have free trials. And what you do is you put what your current job title is, and it gives you some descriptions, and you pick the descriptions that they have written through AI to help you quantify the work that you've done. If you have metrics to support programs and projects where you've had an impact, they have those as well. You should be adding metrics if you're in this job searching. That's what I'm hearing, is a differentiator as well for employers, is adding metrics to your resume. But you don't have to do it because you're really good at resume writing. You could be using AI to help you. And so Chat GPT, there are people on the internet talking you through how to ask Chat GPT to help you to take the resume that you have, which you can copy and paste in, and match it to the job duties that you can copy and paste into ChatGPT, and it will generate some things based on what you've done and use the keywords that are in the job announcement. This is a new world for those of us in our 40s and 50s. It's a new world. It is an absolute new world. Are you using AI any, Azie, in your job search? Or resume writing or cover letter writing?
I use it to extract keywords. That's pretty much the extent of it, because from what I'm a pretty good writer, and AI just doesn't cut it for me. Like it just spits out the most generic stuff. I've tried to use it to write cover letters, but it doesn't have that human sizzle to it. So I only use it for really tactical types of actions related to the job search. But one thing I do want to emphasize on the job search front, there's a stat that I believe about 80% of jobs are acquired through networking. So that, like, we can't just be sending out applications willy-nilly. It's really important to leverage your network or just take small steps to grow it. Especially if we're looking to be digital nomads, I would definitely recommend looking into fully remote companies. There are a lot of them, and everyone in them is basically a digital nomad. So you can see if you have, especially on LinkedIn, see if you have any connections related to that, or maybe if you don't, reach out to someone in a similar role, ask for an informational interview, because through both of those methods, you can get referrals, and the likelihood of your application being seen, getting the job, increases exponentially once you have a referral on your side too. So yeah, definitely don't forget the network. It can be so disheartening to just throw all these applications out into the ether. There's humans working for these companies that you can connect with, and I find it much easier to connect with humans than to just send out a bunch of applications. So definitely use every tool in your arsenal. No eggs in one basket type of deal with this, especially if you're going for a highly desirable digital nomad job.
Absolutely. And I actually looked up, I use ChatGPT to help me if I have a particular industry that I want to work in. So I work in manufacturing, so I can look at fully remote. I can ask ChatGPT, what are fully remote manufacturing employers? And it will spit me out a list. And I was like, oh, this is, so you don't have to be the expert. You can use, but you've got to, what I'm learning is you have to ask the right questions. You have to learn how to dig so that it gives you the best. Even the free versions of these AI instruments can give you somewhere to start. So yeah, let's see, Okay, so we talked about resumes. We are talking about, how to maximize. So making those personal connections,
Right.
people are sharing. So like, I didn't know that there were international HR groups.
Oh,
So if you are a teacher, there may be some international teachers Facebook groups. Reddit is also a really good resource when you're in an industry that you want to do remote work in. There are whole what do you call them,
subreddits.
yes, about those particular can be about those particular topics. So I'm just saying, you don't have to be the master. There's probably someone asking the same question that you are. Get in these spaces and figure it out. So
Absolutely. And I
yeah,
would love
Tia, that's
yeah, that's
said
that's a brilliant
yes.
there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's about the background prompting to make it work. Yes. So, if there are courses, yes, we want to learn the things. We want to know how to do that better. But there are a lot of people on YouTube giving at least some starter things. So you can search Chat GPT or AI resume writing, AI cover letter. But do not copy and paste what they say, because like what Azie said, the human touch
Yeah.
cannot be matched by AI today.
And they ain't gonna replace us. Not yet. Maybe in the future. I would love to add, we've been talking about like regular full-time job search, but I'd love to just add a little about the freelance job search. I'm
Yes.
a big fan of using Upwork. That's where I got my first couple of freelance clients. And the beautiful thing, at least from my experience, can't speak for everyone with freelance work, is they won't put you through like 6 rounds of interviews. Like it's a whole trudge getting a full-time job. But from my experience with freelance, it was with Upwork, for example, great site, because a lot of freelance sites like Fiverr, for example, you need to have a specific skill, like, oh, I do graphic design, but I'm a jack of all trades, so I could custom design my Upwork, and there's such a variety of jobs there too. Like once I wrote an essay, and then other ones I do event hosting, so it can be really different for each job. But what
Mhm.
you do to apply to the job, you see the listing and you kind of just write a little pitch, cover letter, if you will, and you say why you're a great fit for it, or you react to it in some way. And
Mhm.
it seems like humans are looking at it, and you can see how many applications have come in. So you can see the likelihood of yours being seen. So it's once people reached out to me after I pitched to them, they'd have a meeting, and in that first meeting they were already acting as though they hired me, so it's just like one chat and then contracts. So it's a totally different experience from regular full-time job search. So definitely recommend looking into Upwork for anyone who's interested in freelance.
Okay, so Upwork
Yeah.
is, let's see, I've probably been on Upwork maybe 3 months.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
I've been acquiring, what is it called? The
The credit
things that you need to be able to get to apply for jobs.
points, I forget what they call them. I think they're connects.
Yes, connects. You have to acquire a certain number of connects to be able to apply for jobs, which
Right.
helps. You can purchase them, but the longer you're on the platform. So I started collecting connects before I actually wanted to or needed to find work, so that I could collect a few connects before getting started. That was a tip from a friend. But
Good.
also, I love the idea. So, like you said, we're just shifting from the I'm working for an employer. When you're working for with a as a freelancer, you can construct how you want to work. You can find people who, you can put yourself out there and say, these are my skills.
Yep.
You can hire me, and they will use, those keywords to find you.
Yep. Set
Or
your own rate.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. So that, so Upwork is one. Fiverr is another.
Yes.
Because I think I'm going to try, but I have seen customer service people. I was like, people are booking folks for a month at a time. So you can say, this is my weekly rate, this is my monthly rate,
Mm.
or I can be on a recurrent hiring basis. As a native English speaker, we have skills that people want, and people are constructing their ask or their offer on Fiverr. And another one is Freelancer. So I have not been to Freelancer, but that was the third one that a couple of friends have suggested, that if you're thinking about doing freelance work where, hey, I have something that's due, I have check-ins at whatever intervals, I can say I want to be paid at the end. I want to be paid on, at the midpoint when I've delivered X, Y, and Z. So you've got that level of flexibility. It is short term, but the Exodus Summit this year, one of the physicians was saying she works for 6 months and then she's off for 6 months. And I was just like, freelancers can do that. You can do that. You've got skills to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Two more I want to shout out. They're classics, oldies but goodies that I've personally found success on as a freelancer. Indeed and LinkedIn. Because on both of those, you can my long-term clients have been from those sites. And with Indeed, I just happened to have alerts set for the type of roles I wanted. And I think I had like podcast hosts, and I came across a client, like they've offered me full-time employment. Like, yeah, you can find amazing, because employers will still post to the classics, even for contract work. And a lot of these contract jobs are jobs that are also like, this was more of like a startup type of vibe. So they're looking to hire long-term people in the future. So it's a great way to get in early. And LinkedIn, you can actually filter by part-time, contracts, virtual. Like, it's a really powerful tool. You can set your alerts for LinkedIn too and get those emails, because you get fatigue looking for jobs, especially if you're really picky like me. So if you can put those filters to use for you and just have them come to your email, time saver.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were describing with Indeed. I was like, what? You can post it like Fiverr? Okay. But yeah, Indeed does post contract work.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. They do. Thank you for reminding us of that. So let's see. There was a question from Tia. Can you attach a video to get an edge to Upwork applications right now? That's a good question. I don't know.
They're a little weird with the external links, but let me just look real quick and see. I don't think so, but maybe.
Yeah, I just what this process is doing for me is that the traditional 9 to 5 is one option. You've got lots of different ways to earn money, but but sitting in the skills that you already have can serve you well. You can put together, you can take a look at what are people asking for. So looking at these websites, whether it's, just regular job websites, and then being able to say, I can do these things. People are searching for those skills. There are, even on Upwork, I've seen where this is kind of their temp to hire pipeline. Is they're looking for a certain skill set, and they will put you in place for a short amount of time. If it works out between the two of you, then there may be a higher offer, as a part of continuing working with them. So people in HR, we're sourcing talent acquisitions is sourcing people from a lot of non-traditional places. And so being on these websites is definitely a way to, if you are exhausted from trying to build a resume and tailor cover letters. This is a way to get picked up. So some, like I said, customers, specific customer service or just generalized customer service. If you've got some, Zendesk skills, if you've got, what were some of the other things that they were saying? So, replying to social media posts. There are a lot of those SEO marketing. You can get some training or experience. Coursera, Google certificates is offering the opportunity for you to learn those skills, and then you can go and offer them as a freelancer. The lid is off. People are making money in lots of different ways.
Yes.
And you can build up your skill, build up your confidence while you're here in the States, picking up, maybe a contract or two before you start leaning into that process is your primary source.
Right.
Because you've got to think, it's good while it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Until it's not there anymore, and then you're kind of back. So kind of having that cycle of, I have someone, but I'm always continuing to refresh those skills, continuing to look so that you're not without work unless that is your plan. You've pulled out a little bit of money over the course of time to pay your taxes, but also to hold some aside so that you can take a break. And for a lot of us, building in that break that's longer than the few days of PTO that your employer might be offering, or vacation time that your employer is offering, could be a game changer for skills you already have that you're sharing with your current employer. Azie?
Oh, yes. Oh, I see Tia said, Azie, I thought so. This can help them outshine with personality. So I answered in the chat about the Upwork.
Okay. Excellent.
Right there. And one thing, just piggybacking on what you just said, Dee, as a digital nomad, there may be a time like what I've recently experienced where you kind of want to go back to the US and do more traditional, and you need to be financially prepared to do that. I felt stuck. I share this more in the video that I'll post this weekend, but it's really important to have some sort of financial stability. So for me, that was getting into investing. Like right now, if y'all aren't yet nomads, now is the perfect time to get on your investment game. Just have that, create that safety net for yourself. And I have a little intro video I share about investing and just learning how to do it, because it's something that I feel like it's not talked enough about. Like, luckily, I had a great friend who was into the financial freedom. She wanted to retire early. She was talking to me about it a couple of years ago, so I'm still new to it too, but it's like never too soon to start thinking about investing in your future and always giving yourself that option to do whatever you want in life.
Okay, so I'm going to say this because Sam is in the chat. She's one of my go-to for, she is Black Women Build Wealth. She talks about, look, get your money. Where you have leverage is if my daily expenses are not overwhelming, then I can take a few more risks. I consider freelancing work not necessarily risky, but it's not the predictable into the future kind of paycheck that we perceive.
Right.
Okay. But if I've paid down my credit card debt, if I have learned to live on less than I make, then the digital nomad lifestyle doesn't present a stressor to me.
Right.
Let's see. So Black Women Build Wealth also talks about investing. Women should know more about investing. There are a lot of free, reliable resources through Charles Schwab, through Vanguard, through Fidelity, courses that you can take. You don't have to, you can start with, I'm putting in $5, I'm putting in $10 and getting into groups. I'm going to shout out my friend Sandra, who is from Lack to Legacy. These are my Exodus Summit sisters that are saying, look, you don't have to know everything about investing, but this you do need to know. You need to do it. You need to do it regularly, and you need to leave it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so as you learn more, you can do more, you can have more confidence. And we are doing it in community. We are learning together. We're doing it together. And so when I'm thinking about, oh goodness, I'm trying to remember the other lady in Mexico. Oh, y'all, I should write down more. I will I will add them. If y'all, I've got several of my sisters from Mexico that are in the chat. If you all can remind me who the other
It's not Rashida.
that
It's
does trading.
Oh no, trading. I don't know.
Yeah, she does trading. Oh,
Put it in the chat.
Yes, y'all, come on, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. We are here to do this because if you're not with an employer now that has a retirement fund, you need to be funding your life today and your life into the future. As a business owner,
Yep.
you have access to retirement accounts that the IRS have set up for small businesses.
Yep.
Your IRAs are there for you to set money aside to lower your adjusted gross income, and just there. Come on, you've got a lot of opportunities out there. Get in there and learn together. So yes, that's right, Tia. We did meet on Sandra's Wednesday class. I'm telling y'all, get in there. There is a lot of learning. Yes, the SEP. Thank you. Brown girls trade too. Thank you, Dr. Linda. It's Brown girls trade too. So we're in this space talking about finding remote work from anywhere jobs. So as you've gotten to a point, you have found somebody that has said yes to your resume, to the freelance proposal that you've put out there. Now what can we expect as a digital nomad?
That's a big question. Being a digital nomad is super customizable to whatever exploration you're looking for. So a big thing that comes to mind first, like maybe you need to figure out what locations you want to go to, when you go. I think my biggest issue as a digital nomad, or biggest concern, is kind of been brought up in the chat, is just wherever you go, knowing that you have reliable Wi-Fi. So when I look into accommodations, hopefully if there are reviews available, I love to see that. I love to look around to see if there are co-working spaces and I can get reviews from there too. But yeah, ultimately, one thing you can do is also ask them to run a Wi-Fi internet speed test and send you the results, so you have a sense of the strength and the connectivity. I love an Ethernet cable whenever that's available, because even if the Wi-Fi is strong, it might be really unreliable in certain ways. Always have a backup. I know friends who have really invested in really solid hotspots. I have a friend who loves to camp, and she can just go anywhere in the boonies, and it costs a pretty penny, but it worked excellently for her. And she's a software engineer, so she needs decent Wi-Fi. So it's really depending on your financial situation and of course the nature of your work, like you might want to have some sort of backup as well.
Yeah, that hotspot, I've thought about getting one because I do house sitting. I do ask for them to use speedtest.net to show me. But y'all, you have to tell them, don't show me speedtest.net from your cell phone. I mean, like you really have to encourage, you have to tell them, how to use it, but having a backup, because your employer is counting on you to do the work. It is our job to make sure that our connection is stable.
Right.
that our connection is stable and we can get that we can get out there. Yes, servant teacher Nikki, I forgot about that go-to for tutoring English online, teaching English online. Y'all, that is clutch. Get it before you leave the States, because
Yeah.
sometimes where you are initially located is how they set your rate.
Oh. Mm.
So when you apply for them,
Mhm.
you might want to continue with a VPN so that you are,
Right.
you know, that you have an address that is local to the US,
Mhm.
so that you can maintain that. But yeah, I've heard if you are based in other places that that your per class rate or your hourly rate might be different. So thank you for that reminder, servant teacher Nikki.
And
So
servant teacher Nikki, do you have recommendations on websites for teaching English? Because I've tried Preply and the rate was just too low for me to justify. I felt like I was in a situation where I had to start at a really low rate that like was so low that it wouldn't make sense unless I like invested a lot of time and energy and effort. So I would love a recommendation around that because I know people who have been teaching English, but they've been in the game for so long that they could build up their rates.
yeah, there are a lot. There are a lot. We've taught. My husband and I have taught with Ngoo before in the past.
Mhm.
ENGOO. We have. Let's see. At the time it was called iTutor Group.
Okay.
Let's see. I think it's Tutor ABC. I think Stephanie has also talked about. Stephanie Perry has talked about Cambly. So there are different versions of Cambly. So there's the conversation, which has a little bit lower rate. But if you're teaching, lessons, people can book with you for a certain amount of time on the platform. And so that's a different rate. But when I say there are dozens and dozens and dozens of them, some of them are for younger children. And so, you need to be able to be engaging for 25 minutes with a small child. So hand puppets and all kinds of things that you do to make the lesson interesting, props. There are some platforms that are geared more to adults, where you'll have more adults that are on there that are testing for to be able to come into the US as business people, or they're testing to be able to come to the university, and they have to be at a certain English speaking level. And so these platforms you just want to look into. They are pretty easy to apply. I would just do your Googles, because literally there's somebody talking about the platform, talking about how to apply, how to prepare yourself to be a good candidate, and to be successful. And then, yes, Q Kids, yes. Open English, thank you, servant teacher Nikki, are two others.
Yeah.
Um,
VIP
I
kids,
have I have
family.
trauma. I'm doing the kids. Woo! I just did not have. I didn't have the level um, of just energy that kids take. And I have a
It's a
deep
lot of
voice, and I don't have really a high voice that can be high for several classes. But there is these are they some of these companies pay really, really well, and there are support groups for. If you are teaching English for any of these platforms, there are groups on Facebook of the folks that are tutors as well. So that can definitely be helpful as you're going through the process and understanding what's available. Because I got my TOEFL because they sponsored it. They said all of their current teachers needed to have it for them to stay financially viable. So they paid for all of us to go through the training.
Nice.
So, Yeah, that was
What
during
platform
the
was it on?
pandemonium.
What
That was
platform?
during the pandemonium. So I know that they probably won't do that again, but there are lots of ways to get that. You don't always have to have a TOEFL to apply to those jobs because I know NGO does not require that ENGO. So
Yeah. What platform paid for your TOEFL?
let's see. At the time, it was called iTutor Group.
Okay.
Yeah, it was iTutor Group. They might be called something else because they
Maybe switching
other
around.
groups they go up. Let's see. So what is needed to teach English? So some platforms just require you to be a native English speaker. And so they have ways to just kind of understand. Do you understand? What was the question they gave me? Um, Thinking outside the box.
Mm.
And they were like, can you put that in, can you give a definition for thinking outside the box? That's something that if you were not a native English speaker, might not be something that you would understand. And so you would need to be someone that is a regular part of the vernacular to be able to do that. Some sites require that you have a college degree. And so that is another level. Some do require that you have a TOEFL, but most of them are not asking you to have a college degree. Some people have gotten, I think some of the platforms have gotten stricter with whose TOEFL certificate they will accept. So before you go out there on Groupon and get a TOEFL, you want to look at who you are asking, who you're wanting to work for to see what kind of TOEFL they require and then get the one that they require. So, but no, a lot. What I love about the tutoring English online, for me, it was I didn't have to come up with any curriculum. The students choose the lesson that they want to do. Sometimes it's free conversation where they just want to talk to you. Some they want to read a passage. So some or they want to go over vocabulary words, but the entire lesson is there. You just read it and ask the students questions and are able to respond adequately to the questions that the students might ask.
Nice.
So let's see, TOEFL. Yes, thank you, Azie, for putting that. I'm trying to keep up with the chat as well. So TEFL is the other. Is let's see. So TEFL, I think, is the one that is the more stringent. The one that servant teacher Nikki is talking about. And so I can't remember. Y'all, come on. Teaching English as a foreign language, I think, is TEFL.
Yep.
Hopefully, I said that correctly. Thank you. So yeah, we want to there are different entry points. And what is really nice is you set your availability. So if I have 3 hours today and 5 hours tomorrow, a lot of these platforms, during the pandemonium, like you could work any time of the day. What was always really popular is like uh, Friday afternoons, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. But remember, if you're based in the US, your students could be anywhere in the world. So
Right.
what may be daytime for you is nighttime for a student in Japan or China. Our students were in Korea, but we had students that were from all over the world. So when you're looking at, as tutoring English, that is a way, that is one river of income. It's a small river. It's probably more like a stream. Uh, but it can pay. And you can say, hey, I want to earn my $250 in groceries from tutoring English online. A lot of times, the payment schedules can be different, so I don't want to get down a rabbit hole, but yeah, some of them it's once a month, sometimes it's every 2 weeks. I think Cambly, if you earn a certain amount, like if you earn $20, they drop it into your PayPal. Like, so you can, if you can't find a job, you can build, the salary that you want, with, and I'm using rivers of income because I loved Stephanie Perry talking about the rivers of income. I was just like, you've got to have multiple ways, because look, these jobs aren't loyal. Still in another one of her famous sayings. And you need to have something that you do on a basis that just keeps the opportunity open for you, that you are familiar with what to do if you need to pick it up and run with it. Because downsizing is a real thing. And so whether you are considering remote work because I want to earn extra income, I've seen a couple of people in the chat say, hey, I'm retired. I want to feel gainful in some way. Tutoring English online, people, I got a chance to meet young people who are in their 70s and 80s. I met a rice wine farmer in Japan. I've met professors. I've met, attorneys. I mean, people, you get to meet a lot of different kinds of people, interact with them, and share a part of you as an American and the American experience. Because when they read those articles, that's one of the things that they can do on the platform, is they can read articles. And y'all, when Donald Trump was president, they would be like, why does he do that? And I was like, I don't know. That's a good question. But you can share and learn, and these are great ways to do that. So
yeah, I'd love to just add one quick thing there. When we're talking about, like, I know we talked about digital nomads, you naturally think remote jobs, but like you just said, Dee, there is that opportunity for culture exchange. So one thing that we both do is pet sitting. So that is not a remote job, but it's very digital nomad accessible. And similarly, even right now, like in the US, I do work exchanges in exchange for reduced rent. So there's still a lot of like in-person opportunities that align with the digital nomad lifestyle that are like contract, shorter term, that you should also consider as well to reduce your expenses, because that's just as important as getting your income.
absolutely. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, I mean, let's see. So the questions have slowed down in the chat. Y'all, Azie is here. She is the digital nomad. She has traveled out of the country working. She's traveled in the country. I consider myself a little bit of a digital nomad. My employer says I must be in the US. So I could be in California, I can be in Maine. As long as I don't need a passport, I can work. And so I was just like, then let's leverage that. I talked to my manager. I don't do it full time. I'm not traveling everywhere, but y'all know I've done some traveling this year. And so you can look at the opportunities within the employer that you have, to maybe do more remote work. I've really appreciated being able to be in new places. I mean, if you're wanting to create a sense of adventure right where you are, right here in the US, leveraging that remote work opportunity definitely could be how you get started. And as you gain confidence, being able to move into different spheres. What else would you like to share with our audience, Azie? Because I just feel like if the future is remote work, what do you see? What have you seen trends as you are perusing? What kinds of jobs are available? Where do you think people can really be setting themselves up for success for this is the work that I do today, but hey, there's so much more out there.
Mm. Yes, to be honest, as someone who has been looking at the job search for a minute and just seeing a lot of my friends at big tech companies like Google, and like tech is not in the best position. AI is like, there was a writer strike in the entertainment industry. There is a big threat that's coming up with AI, but there's still a human component to a lot of work. But one thing, Tia's also in Chicago. Hey, girl. One thing I've been thinking about, especially as someone who has been freelancing for the last year or so, I felt like I was freelancing in a survival mode way, like, oh, I need to get money, let's find the money. But a recent switch I've been considering is like a lot of us are creatives. We need to get into creator mode. Like we can pitch jobs, we can create them ourselves. We don't have to only be reacting to what's posted. Like we're smart, we have a certain set of skills. So I'm all about getting into that business entrepreneurship mode. That's something that I think is the future, especially if you want to have the life you want, align your work with your desired lifestyle. You don't want to answer to someone. If you feel like the standards and the expectations around traditional work are kind of random and don't really align with who you are and how you want to spend your time and energy, then now is the time to start thinking about how you can make those entrepreneurship moves. And now I'm thinking about my own freelance journey more tactically. Like, okay, what type of roles do I want to do? What skills am I gaining from it? Rather than like, oh, I can teach English and I can get some money from that. But I don't want to really grow as a teacher. Then that's kind of like, I'm just working for the money. I'm really thinking about that like long-term growth and that long-term fulfillment for me. More and more, like I quit my job 2 years ago. It's still a lesson that keeps coming up. Like how I spend my time, how I spend my energy matters so much. So I definitely encourage everyone to think really creatively about what you're good at. I've used my freelance journey as a way to transition. Like before doing event hosting and all this other stuff, I was in an early stage startup, strategy and operations, like completely different. So being a digital nomad, your willingness to step outside of the norms really shows that you have that bravery in you, you have that spark. And the thing that differentiates entrepreneurs and wantrepreneurs is it's not about skills, it's not about being it's not about being a certain level of intelligence, it's about audacity, the willingness to act. Like if anything, the people who are smart realize their pitfalls and then they're like, oh, this is why I can't do it. No, still do it. You're smart. If you're that self-aware and you can see the knot, you still need to try.
Absolutely. So I'm going to shout out because you are speaking the language of Dr. Linda Tokende Travel.
Hey, Linda.
She has been on my channel talking about you don't need no job. You are an entrepreneur at heart. You know how to, if you have constructed yourself to work for an employer, you can build that structure and then work for yourself. And the freedom that you get from, I don't have to ask permission. I set my availability. I can balance it. That is truly the epitome of life work balance, is being able to own it, but putting yourself in a financial situation where you're not chasing the dollar will definitely help that. So I'm gonna add right in what I'm gonna go back and make sure that I add the conversation that I had with Dr. Linda and several of our other Exo Summit sisters that talked about, the entrepreneurial mindset. You can grow into it. It is not foreign. Black women have done that, whether we were selling plates at our kitchens or, doing things for friends that you could actually get paid for. We have that entrepreneurial heart and legacy as part of our ancestry and our DNA. And so we should definitely be leveraging that. But another thing that I think keeps us bound, but is not lacking in the remote work, especially when you leave the US, I'm terrified of healthcare costs bankrupting me. And that is the number one reason for bankruptcy is healthcare costs. So Linda was asking about how does healthcare specifically, how does that work with remote work? And so if you, I don't know how it specifically works with Medicare. I don't know if you can't earn a certain amount. You can earn up to a certain amount. Please go to I think it's Medicare.gov and look up income requirements so that you make sure that, or Social Security, like you're not putting any of that where you've got to pay something back. You definitely want to be in compliance with that, but especially outside the country, if you want to keep your Medicare, please keep your Medicare. But being able to afford, there is affordable health care coverage that you can get. So I don't want to shout any of them out, but things like Safety Wing and some other travel health insurance, because folks, stuff happens. I mean, like real stuff happens. Some things you can pay for out of pocket, but if you have to have emergency surgery, if you have to be medevaced, maybe not back to the US, but to somewhere else, you do not want to have to figure out how to pay for that. So give yourself the advantage of taking a look at what health care coverage is available in the place that you're going. If you're going to be there for a short time, then the health insurance that you get, or the coverage that you get through oh goodness, I'm trying to remember how Adelia talks about it. Pinky Girl Travels the World. What the insurance that you get when you get your plane ticket is not healthcare coverage. That's that's really centered on making sure your luggage, if it gets stolen or lost, that's going to cover that. That's not going to really give you the kind of coverage when you're on the ground. So if you're going to be there for a few weeks, a few months, a year, get some healthcare coverage. Get in these Facebook groups for where you're going. Ask people, or do that first. Search, healthcare, a healthcare broker, and somebody can help you understand and get some health insurance on the ground that I promise you is not going to cost you what it costs here in the States. People are being quoted some really doable rates. I'm talking about what they're saying that they pay for a year, and Adelia has shared her numbers on her channel. I pay that in 3 months, and I'm just like if I could have back those other 9 months to add to my budget, that would definitely be helpful. So I think healthcare should not hold you back. If you're in the States, the Affordable Care Act is available for digital nomads. I'm trying to remember who you can look to see if there's a zero premium but high deductible. Just make sure you've got that high deductible sitting in a liquid high interest earning savings account. But yeah, I mean, there are options and opportunities when you're in the US to cover your healthcare costs. Don't be out here wilding out, because you are one car accident away. I was texting and driving and it wasn't my fault, but now I've got medical bills, from that are going to, be a headache, a stressor to you. So definitely look in the countries, because yes, public health care coverage can be available if you're a resident. A lot of people will choose the private healthcare. There are options and opportunities. Get in the groups. A lot of them are also saying, and I've seen this in a lot of the general groups, people will say, how do you earn money? And people will list, I work in HR, I'm an actuary, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a flight attendant, I'm a this. And I'm just like, oh, I never thought about that. Being a medical transcriptionist is something, y'all, I'm a serial learner. But medical transcribing can pay really well. When I went and looked at it today, if you are in doing medical transcribing, like a specialized medical transcribing or legal, a legal transcriptionist, $40 to $70 an hour. There's a certification course. I mean, just as you begin to look, don't be afraid to upskill or reskill. So, yes, yes, yes. Okay. Anything else you want to share with the audience? Thank you all for joining. I see so many great people in the chat. Yeah. April Herman was watching your live, and she has dropped over here. She is also another person in the chat. Positively Prill is her channel, but she also is sharing her journey of being an independent consultant. Ooh. And how to come in and say, hey, this is what I want to do when you are in that negotiation period. If you're working with an employer, and saying, I want to this is my goal. Can I work on the ground in the office for 3 months and then, or 6 months, and then have a certain amount of time that I spend, traveling and working remote? Is that possible here? Finding out the criteria. What do I, what security concerns do you have? But that will help. That is helpful to me. And I have proven my productivity, that I can be a responsible person with the opportunity to work remote. All right. All right. Thank you, Azie.
Thank you for having me.
A whole series. I'm putting it together for January, where we're going to talk about work. Because for a lot of us, if I can make the money, if you're between, less than 65, most of us are not in a position, money can be the reason why we are not making the leap. If I can find and confirm that this money can be here and that people are looking for the skills that I'm putting out there, it's time to head out. I'm telling you, because if you have not, that was what I wanted to ask about, Azie. Yes. You did the consequences, the loneliness. If you're here in the world, I totally forgot to mention that. Can you talk a little bit about the other side? So there's the glitz and the glamour, beautiful places, yes, great food, language interaction, but there's another side to the digital nomad life.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend that you subscribe to my channel, because I have a video, that I'm currently editing, almost done, all about that. Just really reflecting, because I've been a digital nomad. I've traveled to dozens of countries, been out of the country for maybe like 9 months total. So yeah, there's definitely a mental health toll. There's definitely a privilege that we need to consider as people from the US going to developing places. There's so many things. But yeah, definitely check out my channel, and I'll be posting that this weekend. That's a little teaser for that.
Absolutely. She's got great videos, y'all. Thank you, Azie, for joining. Thank you, everyone. We're so glad to have you in this space. This is our time. Black women, this is our time. People, this is our time to leverage the power of internet connectivity to work from anywhere. You can do it. We're going to keep giving you these breadcrumbs to show you that other people are doing it, and not just cheering them on, but they are cheering for you as well. We are cheering for you as well. The good, the bad, the ups, the downs, the highs and the lows. We're here for it, because we are here for time freedom, financial freedom, and location freedom.
Yes.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye for now.